Audio is rolling.
1 2 1 2.
You ready?
3 4 5 6.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, action. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of The Playhouse. I know it's been a minute and I apologize for the delay, but trust me, today's session will be worth your time. With me, I've got what I call an OG in the industry. We've had a couple of people here, we've had producers, we've had musicians, but there's more to the Kenyan music industry than just the producers and the musicians. There's the people in the background pulling the strings and making things happen. This guy has been in the industry for a minute, and when it comes to stories about this Kenyan music industry, trust me, this session is going to be worth your time. I am talking too much, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome none other than Buddha Blaze.
Yes. The Playhouse.
The Playhouse, huh?
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm going to start it from Yanni, the beginning. What are your real names, man? What are your government names?
I pay my taxes by the name Moses Mbasu.
Moses Mbasu. And what does Mbasu mean?
Means the sun. Sunshine, you know?
Yeah, man.
I come to give the light.
Yeah, I mean, when we're out here, natural light shooting.
That's it. I love the sun.
Okay.
That's my beautiful blessing in life, you know? Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many years have you been in this industry?
I would say 18. Started out in 2000.
2000. From 2000, you've been making things happen, huh?
Been trying to make things happen, you know? We're still trying to make things happen. Yeah.
Dude, I can name over 100 different artists that you've worked with, and we're going to hear a lot of stories from these people.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to hear a lot of stories about how a lot of these people came to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I like doing this thing on the Playhouse where I throw it back like cornrows, man. When did you start? When did the passion and the love for the music come?
I think it started when I was a little kid, you know. I was always around music, you know, always telling my parents about music. I remember my dad going out on my 12th birthday to buy me a Bob Marley poster, you know. I was always around music, you know. Mm-hmm. I got introduced to hip hop really strongly at the age of 15. So I always knew I wanted to be in the music industry. I was just like, this is it. This is my industry. Even if I'm not gonna work as a musician, I knew I was gonna be in the background somehow. You know, I always thought my biggest dream when I was young was I wanted to own a record store, you know? I could just listen to music all day, make my money and live upstairs. I was like, in my head, I knew I was gonna have a record store downstairs, my house upstairs. It never happened, you know, but you know, people don't buy records anymore.
Yeah.
It's really digital now, but that was in my dreams, you know.
And you've seen the evolution of the music industry.
Yeah.
So let me ask you,
Mm-hmm.
where were you at this time? I mean, you're talking about record stores.
Yeah.
Where you had to have seen a record store
course.
for you to, you know,
So
even have the dream.
So my dad was a diplomat, you know, so we moved around the world, you know, Europe, North America, Asia. So, you know, I grew up around, you know, when somebody launches an album, you actually go and line up. I remember lining up for Nas's first album in a record store in Amsterdam. In the cold, like freezing, but like there's a line, you know, they haven't even opened the store at 8 a.m., but there's a line outside just waiting to buy the record. Those were the days, man. When somebody tells you they sold 1 million records, they actually sold physical records, like somebody
CDs,
actually
tapes.
That's it. So I grew up in that era of listening to music, CDs, and you know, right now you can tell a young kid what a Discman is and they won't even know what you're talking about. Everything,
Walkman, man.
yeah, they don't know. So I grew up in those days where you had to get tapes, and then of course we jumped into CDs, and now it's digital, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's dwell a little bit about those days.
Yeah.
What musicians inspired you at the time? Who are you listening to? I've heard you mention Nas.
Yeah, wow, LL Cool J, Snoop Dogg, KRS-One, you know, A Tribe Called Quest. Man, I was listening to the hip hop greats, man. I was really into hip hop. I was what they call a hip hop b-boy. Mm-hmm. I used to skate, I used to break dance, you know, all those things. So I always knew I was gonna be in the business somehow, some way, you know.
Yeah.
And so 2000, me being in Kenya and just listening
So
to
when did you come back to Kenya?
so I looked at early 2000, you know.
Early 2000.
Yeah.
Before that, you were in the States.
With North America, we in, you know, Asia. My parents were, you know, out in Belgium for a while, Amsterdam, Canada. So just moving around the world.
So I mean, multicultural. You saw a lot of different cultures.
Yes, I grew up around the different cultures and listening to different music, and you know, living out in Europe and just being able to experience the hip hop over there. So I was really overwhelmed by the global hip hop in the world. So coming back to Kenya in 2000, I started hearing Kenya is also getting into the hip hop thing, you know. There's Kalamashaka, there's K South, there's, you know, Giddy Giddy Maji Maji at that time. There was an artist called what was his name?
Issa.
Issa at the time. It was just so much going on, you know. Mercy Myra. I was like, man, I really want to be here. I really want to be part of this new revolution that was going on in Kenya at that time. 2000, all these new groups are coming up. Kenya is just really starting to get used to having its own stars, you know. At that time, people didn't know what being a star is. People like, you want to be a musician? That was really nothing, you know? So I remember how I really got into the industry is I started being really close with the K South. That's Bamboo and
Doobie Doobie.
and Doobie Doobie, and of course at that time he wasn't even called, you know, he wasn't called what people know him as a bass. He was called Doobie. Doobies,
Yeah.
you know, he was the guy, and his brother, of course, was also part of the group. So I joined them as their hype man, you know.
So we're talking about K South right now.
K South. I'm talking about 2000s. I'm their hype man. I'm over there, like, you know, whenever they're opening a show, I'm the guy who's trying to be like hype them up, you know. At that time, they were the hottest group. Watu wengine wana tabia mbaya.
Nice.
That was like a big smash hit. I mean, they made so much noise. They opened doors for the Kenyan music industry. They were like really rappers, you know. So one time they get invited to Mombasa. I get so excited. I'm like, wow,
Dude,
I finally.
How did you even meet them?
Well, you know, somehow, I mean, you know, I'm out here, I'm looking at clubs, I'm seeing what it is. You know, you bump into people.
Okay.
You know, I met them at there used to be this thing called Jam Session at F1 in town. So I used to go there just to see who's rapping, I'm really interested in the culture. At the time, I was meeting people who are close to these people.
Okay.
So they would take me into these places where there's music and so F1 jam session. That's where you saw everybody from Kalamasha. Everybody went there. That's where everybody who was rapping was, or tried Red Sun. Everybody came from F1 jam session. That was where it happened, you know?
That's huge.
So linked up with K South, we had a good vibe, started hanging out together, we'd go to each other's houses, we'd kick it, you know, we'd party together. And then I was their hype man, you know, started hyping them. So one day, they get invited to Mombasa. We take a bus. I've never been to Mombasa at the time. I'm like, wow, I get to go to Mombasa and I'm going to perform. I'm thinking about the industry the way I have thought it in my head, not the way it happened. So we get to Mombasa, and the guy who had booked them didn't even show any interest. He was kind of acting like these guys are bothering him, you know? That's when my management skills came out. Because I'm like, hey, dude, you've invited these guys all the way from Nairobi. They've gotten on a bus, they've come miles away, and you're here ignoring them. You know, they have nowhere to sleep, they have nothing to eat. You're not even gonna take care of them. That's when my management started taking over, because I studied management in school, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I have to really sort this out. And I basically just took courage and I was like, hey, guy, bro, we're not playing. We came all the way from Nairobi and we need some respect. After that is when this guy was like, who's this guy? Who is this guy? And then obviously K South and I'm like, yo, why don't you manage us? You know, why don't you help us come up? And of course, because in school I was a good writer, I was always been a good writer. I started writing their profile, put together their profile. I'm like, guy, if you guys want to succeed, you need to have a profile. You need to arrange yourself in a professional manner so people respect you. You need to do your bookings on email, so it's not just a call, somebody calling you. And so I started organizing that, and they were really, really.
And I have to say this is 2000.
Yeah.
So I mean, email is new.
Dude, nobody had emails
within the region.
Yeah,
There's no
man.
Gmail.
Nobody had
it's Hotmail
emails. Nobody knew nothing about websites. This is stuff that I've been used to just all my life. using email and communicating officially. It was just really just putting all that stuff together. So I did that for them. They were just so happy, and of course, because the word spread, like, yo, you want your profile done? Go to Blaze. I can tell you, even people like Nameless and Redson, all their profiles now are just an addition of what they've been doing since that time, because I was the first person actually putting that stuff together. And of course, organizing things like photo shoots, doing professional pictures, just becoming a professional.
Getting your business back.
That's it. So it's people don't treat you like just some guy on the street, That moment in Mombasa changed my life, It really changed my life, because I saw the opportunity that was there, and the opportunity wasn't even me rapping. I was like, there was more bigger opportunity in management.
So, dude, you wanted to be a rapper this time?
Yeah, I was like, man, I was rapping. I still remember my rhymes.
But drop some, man.
I'm Buddha Blaze, I amaze, I come with the craze, Yo, don't remind me of them days.
That's why you're a manager.
Yeah, but I'm sure if I pursued rapping, a lot of MCs will be retired by now, So, but anyway, that's a story for another day. So that's how really my career started, and we came back from Mombasa. I mean, we really had a bad time over there because of that situation. I was like, you know what? If this is what's going on, and there's so many artists, I hope they're not all getting treated like this, So I started putting myself out there. It's like, guys, I can help you get representation, because sometimes all you need is to stand up for yourself, not to just let people treat you like crap, So started building a little. I mean, it was hard, because obviously you have to fight with clients. Clients at that time didn't really care what's an artist. For them, they looked at artists as that third wheel. Like, we don't, even now, it still happens. I mean, there's a lot more respect now.
Yeah.
We have more millionaire artists now. At that time, I think Darling P was pretty much one of the only artists that was making money.
Rewind selector, come again. Did you just say Darling P?
Darling P, man. That was that was the biggest rapper in Kenya, man. Can you imagine? Biggest. I mean, this is the guy that was everywhere. He was doing all the gigs. He was on every matatu. They were playing him everywhere, man. He was the king of Nairobi. And all these other rappers were trying to take him out, because he was like kind of like the commercial, geeky, kind of like funny,
comedian,
comical.
Yeah.
So he resonated with the people, And these other rappers, the K-South, were more serious. They're more real rappers. I mean, these rappers, K-South was conscious. They were some of the best rappers in Africa. Imagine, like, in them days, Nigeria used to look at Kenya and say, wow, you guys are doing it. I'm telling you, these days, like, Nigerian artists used to look up to Kenyan artists. And they used to be like, wow, you guys in Kenya, man, I wish our industry was like that. Look at the reverse now. Look at how it looks now.
I know. So, okay, let's talk a bit about now your introduction into management. Where do you even start? What do you even do at the time? This is still 2000, huh?
Yeah,
okay. 2000.
So now I start writing about the industry, about the streets, about everything I'm seeing. In fact, I had an article called Thoughts from the Underground, because I was just thinking, I was writing out my thoughts. It's like, why don't people embrace their own? Here we are. We have a city called Nairobi with so much talent. Why is the city not behind its talent? Why is the city not behind K-South? Why is the city not behind, Kalamashaka at the time? Why is the city not behind Darling P and all these guys? Why are they not as rich as they need to be,
And when you're writing, where are you putting these articles?
I'm just writing these articles, and one day, Fat Magazine, which was like one of East Africa's biggest music publication, was out there, and they were looking for writers. So somehow, some way, one of the editors there landed on my article. So I don't know what I was doing at the time or how I was spreading it. I think we were spreading it by either we were sending it out just on email lists where people would read it and just laugh. But somehow somebody read it and they were like, yo, can you come to Fat? I'm like, what's this Fat? At that time, Pamoja Hip Africa Tunawakilisha, Fat, man. I was like, wow, I want to be part of this family. And I remember those guys, the two brothers called Sunday, and of course their financier, Mike Strano. Well, they loved my articles, they loved my energy, and the fact that I was a good reporter and I was a good writer. I mean, they basically took me in as their family, and that's how my real career began. Because now I was a writer, I was a journalist. I had a media card. I could go to any event. And I was writing about these events, you know? And I was really good at writing and vividly explaining what's going on.
Yes. Let me ask, was FAT at this time that small publication?
Yes.
The
No. It was
or it was a magazine?
It was actually, when I joined them, it was a colorful magazine. They had the front cover was colored, but inside was black and white. Yeah. So the printing was really tough out in Kenya in those days. I mean, the only really good printers were in either Dubai or South Africa. So we struggled with printing here. So we did a few issues here, but we're struggling with the printers. So I remember like by 2001 and 2, we were actually headed to Dubai to print and then ship it back here and then sell it on the streets of Nairobi. Really opened my eye on business. I learned the professional movement. We started getting a lot of clients. It was the first time that we had presented Kenyan art as a profession. You understand? It was the first time that people were seeing Nameless or Darling P on a glossy magazine, because in them days people were just either reading the Source, the Vibe, or what was the other magazine, Spicy. You know, those American magazines that were shipped here, and people used to buy them for like a lot of money, you know? This was the first time that a Kenyan musician, somebody that you've seen on the streets of Nairobi, you've heard on Kenyan radio, this was the first time that they sold on a glossy magazine. It changed the game. And we started engaging with corporations, we started engaging with clients, and we would tell them, man, listen, these guys are not just some jokers. These are talented people who can put words together. Can you put words together yourself? Even if you think this song is not nice, can you make a song like that? These are talented people. Give them the respect that they deserve. That's when the game started changing. The people started becoming bigger. Nameless started getting respect. The shows were getting bigger. There was more shows now. There was more respect. We're saying, cool, if you invite an artist, don't just give him somewhere to sit. Give him some water to drink. Man, can you imagine they used to invite artists and just leave them at the corner? So now we would show up with the artist. We're like, hey, man, now you're not even talking to the artist. Because them days, they used to talk to the artist directly. Like, hey, just sit over there, wait for your money. Now, when it's time to pay them, there was no money. You know, people start playing with their money. Now, we started telling them, hey, listen, don't accept any gig unless you see a contract. Don't accept any gigs unless your terms have been met. Don't agree to perform unless you've been paid 50%. You know what I mean? We started basically putting some structure to the musicians to give them that confidence that you guys go over and perform. Us will handle the rest. You don't have to chase your money. You don't have to be doing no contracts. We'll even sign the contract on your behalf because you're signed under us. And that's why FAT went from just being a magazine to also being a management company, because all these artists needed management. They needed representation. They felt like the corporations or the clients were not necessarily respecting them. So we took over their situation. We were the suit guys that went and be like, hey man, my artist has just performed. You're supposed to pay on this time. Where's the money? How, you know, if they're going out of town, where's the hotel? Where's the transportation? Where's all this? At that time, clients had never really seen that kind of thing. In fact, they didn't really like us because they preferred working with the artist directly, because then you can bullshit the artist.
Yep.
But then when we came in, they're like, now who's these guys? In fact, we were notorious. People didn't really like us. People were like, those guys, don't work with those guys. They're taking your money. You know, the whole, what you call it, the ignorant talk. You know, it's like, why are you giving this guy 10%? Kwani, you can't do this yourself. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. Those are some of the challenges that we faced. But the artists who understood embraced us. You know?
Give me examples of some of the artists who you would do this for.
I mean, there was people like Nameless, Redson. We represent them even without necessarily being their official representative. We were agents. I mean, K South, Mercy Myra, Nyotandogo. I'll tell you a whole list of artists, man. Everybody who was really blowing up at the time, we were kind of working with them, you know, and opening doors for them and showing them different places that, you know, I remember FAT, we represented Mercy Myra to earn, at that time in early 2000, like a $5,000 check written for you to sing the national anthem. That was unheard of at those days, because musicians were never really respected. And a musician asking for more than
20 G's.
20 G's at that time was unheard of, you know? So that's when everything started falling in place. The Coca-Colas would call us to do their shows, the Safaricoms, the Airtels, all these big companies would now say, okay, cool, okay, artists are now a professional entity. And as much as it was a struggle, we kept going with the struggle and we kept fighting it. We kept fighting it. And FAT until now is still fighting for artists, you know?
Exactly. Okay, so how long were you at FAT?
I was at FAT, I'll say 6 years. 6
Whoa.
years, yeah, man, 6 years. So 2000 up until 2006, when I decided to go on and do my own thing.